In August 1945, the United States won the largest war in human history and immediately had no idea what to do with its military. For 4 years, American factories had built aircraft at a pace the world had never seen. More than 9,000 planes a month at peak production, bombers, fighters, transport planes, enough to fill the sky over an entire continent. Then the enemy surrendered. The orders stopped. The assembly lines went quiet. And the United States found itself standing in the middle of the greatest military buildup ever assembled, with nowhere to point it. The military faced an impossible inventory problem and chose the most practical answer available. Store the aircraft. Wait. Decide later. That decision, made without any long-term plan, turned out to be one of the most strategically valuable accidents in American military history. This is how it happened. Between 1941 and 1945, American factories produced roughly 300,000 military aircraft. When the war ended, a significant portion of that fleet still existed, parked on airfields, loaded onto ships, and sitting in depots across the world. Keeping it all operational was out of the question. The cost would have been staggering. Scrapping everything wasn't straightforward either. These were machines built from years of engineering and enormous amounts of material. Destroying them felt like burning money. The government needed somewhere to put the aircraft while it figured out what to do. The answer was a place that seemed completely unsuitable for preserving aircraft: the Arizona desert. The Sonoran Desert turned out to be almost perfect for the job. Humidity corrodes metal. Rain damages engines. Freezing temperatures crack seals. Arizona avoided nearly all of those problems. Its dry climate and hard-packed soil allowed aircraft to sit for years with minimal deterioration. In 1946, the military established what would become AMARG at Davis-Monthan Air Force Base outside Tucson. Aircraft arrived by the thousands. By the early 1950s, rows of planes stretched across the desert floor in every direction. The aircraft at Davis-Monthan are not abandoned. The facility functions more like a warehouse than a graveyard. Every aircraft is carefully preserved. Fuel systems are drained. Openings are sealed. Vulnerable components are protected. Each aircraft is cataloged and inspected on a regular schedule. This is not what you do with something you're throwing away. What the military built, without fully realizing it, was one of the largest inventories of aviation hardware ever assembled. The value of that reserve became clear during the Korean War. Less than 5 years after World War II ended, the military suddenly needed aircraft it had only recently stopped producing. Some of the planes stored in Arizona were pulled back into service. The same pattern repeated during Vietnam, and again during the Gulf War. Even when stored aircraft didn't fly again, they supplied parts that kept active fleets operating. One of the clearest examples is the B-52 Stratofortress. The last B-52 rolled off the production line in 1962, yet the aircraft still flies today. Part of the reason is that Davis-Monthan holds spare parts and structural components that are no longer being manufactured. Without that reserve, keeping the fleet operational would be far more difficult. What looked like storage was quietly becoming something much more valuable. The most important thing stored there was never the aircraft themselves. It was the option to use them later. Instead of destroying thousands of surplus aircraft, the military postponed the decision. Store the aircraft. Wait. See what happens. That choice preserved possibilities nobody could predict in 1945. Aircraft returned to service. Parts supported active fleets. Machines that seemed obsolete found new uses decades later. What began as a practical compromise became one of the most useful long-term military reserves America ever created. America built that by accident. Then it ran the program deliberately for 80 years. Today, Davis-Monthan holds aircraft spanning the entire history of American military aviation. Some will be scrapped. Some will go to museums. Some will keep active aircraft flying through the parts they provide. A small number may even return to service. From the ground, the scale is difficult to absorb. Rows of aircraft stretch beyond what you can see, preserved under the Arizona sun. The place feels less like a military base than a library. Everything cataloged, everything preserved, everything waiting. A library of military capability, built to solve a temporary problem in 1945, still paying dividends 80 years later.